The greatest power you possess is your ability to choose. Join Lowe's Moore as he reveals how you can begin to maximize that power by exploring yourself on the deepest levels and committing to making lasting and positive changes. Get ready to achieve breakthroughs that will lead to accelerated growth and transformation because you are now tuned in to The Blueprint.
Why the actions contradict the lamb. I'm fellowshipping when I'm with the fam. That's more relations, that's foreign and foreign.
Good evening and welcome back. This is Lowe's Moore and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. Hey, again, man, I'm telling you that I'm really excited this evening. Just got back yesterday, my wife and I. My daughter Michelle and Dakari, my son-in-law, my son, and two of my grandkids, Dakota and Hartley. We were in Cancun, Mexico for an entire week. I mean, it was a long week, man. Time stood still while we were there. We truly enjoyed ourselves. We got back yesterday. Hey, sometimes you need a vacation from the vacation, but we are back. And look, man, I know here in Mount Vernon on yesterday, man, they had a very successful City Fest. I'm sorry I missed it. I didn't get an opportunity to see my man JB. He got honored by the city of Mount Vernon, and congratulations, man. He's such an amazing person, man. And you talk about energy. JB got crazy energy. So, again, I want to welcome you back to the Blueprint Podcast. I want to thank you, man. I want to thank you guys for your support, man. And let me say, man, we've been growing. I'm trying in the process of figuring out what the next steps are in the growth of the podcast and in the growth of Lowe's Moore Global Communications. I mean, I love communications. I don't know if I said that to you guys before, but I do love communicating, interviewing people, sharing stories. For me, it's I want it to be encouraging to you. I hope that it is. But the stories of the individuals that I've met and that I've known, and I've known some people, man. But sometimes you can know people but not know people. Right. And so when you get into the details of somebody's personal life, things that tests and trials and tribulations that they go through, it's encouraging to see people overcome or manage their life. Right. And on the other end, able to smile. So I pray that you guys would pray for me, that as I continue to move forward with this life of communication, that that this would grow, and that God will give me the wisdom to help it to grow, and that I would be blessed by this. But most importantly, you would be blessed by this. And so, if you don't mind, right, for those of you who are on for the first time, or those who've been following me all for the last, now this is in my third season, for the last 3 seasons, if you don't mind, please like and subscribe to the Lowe's Moore Blueprint Podcast on YouTube. Right. I like to see if I can continue to grow this, to get better at this. I'm always trying to get better, just like as a person and a player, right? Growing up being a basketball player, growing up being a person, I always want to grow as a person. I always want to grow in my craft. I want to grow in my purpose. And so one of the ways to do it, to grow your podcast or your communication, is that people would like you and that people would subscribe to you. And so if you don't mind, check out, if you're checking this out, hey, man, just click the like button and then subscribe to the Blueprint. I would truly appreciate that. So let's get rolling tonight. I'm gonna drop here's my seed, right? It's my little basketball. Here's my seed. And I always say when you drop a pebble in a pond, you get a ripple effect. And so I expect that each and every show from the last couple of seasons and into this third season has a ripple effect that somebody's going to be impacted tonight. Somebody's going to be impacted down the road. So let's drop this seed. I just dropped that seed, and I'm looking forward to tonight's show. But as we transition, normally I would give you my books of the week, but we did something special this week while we were on vacation. And so I want you to check out, this video, because it's going to give you some information about the books of the week, the word of the week, so forth and so on. Check this out. Hello, this is Lowe's Moore, and welcome back to the Blueprint Podcast. Man, I'm at the Rue Palace in Cancun, Mexico, and man, I'm excited because this is my opportunity tonight to give you my book of the week, right, from Cancun, Mexico. And my book of the week is The Power of Right Thinking by Carrie Kirkwood. Man, and I was just thinking about being out here as you get older, right? How important it is to think right, to find the right things to think about, and the right things to keep your mind on. So that's my book of the week, right? Keep your mind straight. Whatever you're listening to, whatever you're reading, whatever you're hearing, you have the power and the say so to block those things out. And so that's my book of the week. The word of the week is gospel. I mean, many people heard about the gospel, right? Not many people know the meaning of the gospel, right? The gospel, the word gospel means good news. I think people hear the gospel, man, and get freaked out about it. But it's only an interpretation. It's just good news. I'm always looking for good news, man. I'm looking for good news. When people talk to me about people, I just want to hear good news about them. I don't want to hear bad things. When people talk about a situation, I want to hear good news about that situation and that experience. I don't want to hear all that bad news. We wake up every morning hearing bad news, but the gospel is good news, and that's my word of the week. Here's my Hill Hopper and Pierce Hopper quote moment and affirmation. Hey, it's coming from one of my good friends, Denzel Washington. Listen to this. It says, the older you get, the more quiet you become. Life humbles you so deeply as you age. You realize how much nonsense you waste time on. Think about that. Think about all the stuff. Think about all the nonsense we waste time on every single day, right? And I thank God that I keep my focus on the things that are important and not waste time on things that just don't make no sense. It's just a waste of time. This is my music of the week and my movie of the week. No, not the music that Dakota's playing over here. My music of the week, it comes from the legendary Andre Crouch. Man, Andre was a man back in the day, man. It was contemporary. It was contemporary, man, and it kept young people engaged. And I'm like, man, this music is hot, right? It was okay listening to the hymns and the traditional songs, but man, it was something about Andre Crouch with that new sound, right? And like I said before, it just kept us engaged. I mean, This Is Another Day, Take Me Back, Keep On Singing, the best of Andre Crouch. It was just awesome, man. And of course, my movie of the week is Blessed and Cursed. Dietrich Haddon, man, that movie Blessed and Cursed was right on point. If you want to see somebody who's trying to grow in their faith, man, just awesome. So check those two things out. Andre Crouch, go back a little ways, and Blessed and Cursed by Dietrich Haddon. I'm going to give you my next week's guest, Steve Bender. And let me say that this is going to be a special next week because it's Labor Day weekend. And so we're doing a special show on Saturday, September the 3rd, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And man, we're going to be talking about a lot of amazing things. Like if you got a kid who's a student athlete trying to get a scholarship in this day and time, man, that's what Steve does, right? And he's preparing for the following week to have a showcase. So if you got a kid out there that hasn't gotten any looks yet and he's looking to get in college, man, this is basketball. Man, look it up. You know, Steve Bender's showcase. So look forward to seeing him on the following week. Wow, awesome. Yeah, we just thought it was so beautiful in Cancun, Mexico, and we just said it was just so beautiful, and it was just finished eating breakfast, man, and it was just nice. I truly enjoyed being out there. But I mean, when I got back home, man, it was all good too. You know, last night I slept like a baby. You know, I guess with every single day at the pool, in the water, at the beach. Eating. Man, I hadn't eaten that much in a long time, right? I was like, man, I got to the point, man, I didn't want no more food. But again, we had a great time. It's always good to spend it with family. It's always good to spend it with friends, man. And it was just a wonderful time. Beautiful place, clean. Oh man, food tasty. Mwah. Yeah, just amazing. And man, I always look forward to going on vacation or going away with family, whether it's around the corner, to the movies, going out to dinner. Hey, let me say this, man, you hear me say this all the time, but, you know, make every day your masterpiece, right? And enjoy every day, right? And don't forget that if you got family around you, individuals around here, my affirmation said, man, don't spend your time on nonsense, listening to nonsense, reading the nonsense. Man, don't spend your time on that. Spend your time on what's valuable. Spend your time, man. My wife, my children, my grandchildren, my friends. Spend your time being blessed and spend your time being a blessing. Right. And man, you can be for sure. Right. And you can be for sure that, man, for the rest of your life, man, when it's your time, you be like, look, I enjoyed my life. I had a great life, but I didn't waste time on nonsense. So again, let's get in it. Let's get rolling. Right. I'm going to show you a little. I think I got a highlight here. You know, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go a little back. You can see I'm gonna do something on what's coming in September. Lowe's More Global Communications. You heard me say it before, right? And so I'm gonna be doing that project. I want to build up the communication company, and I want to give you like a little highlight of my when I was the young Lowe's. I want to show y'all the young Lowe's tonight, and then I'm going to introduce my guests, and we're going to get rolling.
is one of the most entertaining players to ever set foot on the Coliseum floor, Lowe's Moore dazzled the crowd as a basketball player from 1977 to 80. The Mount Vernon, New York native is only one of 11 Mountaineers to score more than 1,600 career points. As a standout guard, Moore scored 20 points or more 37 times, which ranks 6th in school history.
Lowe's Moore, a magical player whose tricks with the ball earned him All-America honors as a sophomore. At 6'1", he can do things others must dream about. And just a touch of Lowe's Moore magic brings the crowd to its feet and the team together. Call him one of college basketball's premier guards.
I always play to the situation. Like, whatever happens, if a guy passes the ball and I happen to steal it, I play to that situation, you know. And if a guy's gonna run up on me too fast, I won't dunk it, I'll just lay it up. You know, but if he doesn't, I'll dunk it. It's like I'm playing, reacting all the time. I'm not thinking on one specific thing, but I'm thinking of a whole idea, like a freedom type thing. You know, I like my talent to be free, where I can play freely, you know, without putting any type of mechanical things with it. The dunk draws people. It feels good. It feels good for me, and I know it feels good for the home crowd, and wherever I may be, it draws people. The dunk will bring some fans to your side. If I just leave the memory of being an exciting ball player and what the fans are looking for, then I'll be happy. That's been my true tradition all the way down from high school. I do things that other people don't do. I try things that other people don't try. It's just like I'm passing through, you know, and I want to leave a little saying with them or whatever, you know, that make them happy or touch their heart.
This man is a great person, and I would hope that all athletes could model themselves after him. Lowe's Moore.
What if I told you the 9 to 5?
All right, we're back. Yeah, I'm excited tonight. There's a little Young Lowe's, you know, back in the day. You know, my voice box hadn't even came into play yet. You know, where I sound like a grown man. Back then, I was kind of a little Mike Tyson going on over there. But tonight, man, I have a very special guest and a special friend, Terry Mendhiem. Terry, I want to welcome you to the Blueprint tonight. And man, we go way back. Yeah. Something's happening to your sound. Sound like Star Wars going on over here. Yeah, you was sounding good before the show. Let's see if we can get it straight. Well, you might maybe go back, go off and come back. Let's see. Yeah, we're having a little technical difficulties. He was just on before the show. Sounded perfect. So we'll get that straightened out. But hey, man, can you believe it? Man, it's the end of August and next week is Labor Day. Man, like it just speeded up. But hey, check this out, man. I have the same attitude that I have for summer, right? Like the joy of summer, right? Is the same joy I'm gonna have for the fall and I'm gonna have for the winter. Regardless of what the weather is, I'm gonna enjoy myself, man. I don't know about you guys, man. I'm gonna have fun. Whether I'm gonna act like the fall is the summer and the winter is the summer, and I'm gonna have the same attitude I have in the summertime. I'm gonna get up, get rolling. Yeah. Terry might have to go out, click out, and come back in and then start all over again. Yeah. And I hope y'all guys have that mindset. Remember when I was looking at the book, I was reading the book, you know, how important it is to think right. You know, right thinking, you know, is so important. And man, I got like something in my eye here. There you go. The power of right thinking. I mean, this is a very powerful, you know, transform your thoughts, transform your world. I mean, this book is so powerful, man. You don't know how, you know, the Bible scripture says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? So what you think, man, can impact your whole life, right? So, hey, make sure you check out a copy of that, man, because man, we could have toxic thinking, right? And you know, society is not giving you, you know, when you look at television or things that you listen to, man, they're not putting out positive stuff so that you can build on positivity, man. You putting out toxic stuff, man. And once that toxic stuff get in you, man, you can't get it out, right? So you have to change the way you think. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, the way you think. So I think I got Terry back.
Okay, how we sound now?
Oh yeah, you sound good, man. You sound good.
Okay, great.
Right.
One of the last things that you said, how far we go back. I know for sure, that we go back to the 4th grade, but I think it was maybe even the 3rd.
Right. So, who's the 3rd grade teacher?
Oh, see, that's what I don't remember.
Okay. Well, you know why I remember my 3rd grade teacher?
Why?
White lady, Caucasian white lady, Miss Sherman was her name.
I think that's
and
what I had.
She almost had, you know, and Miss Sherman. I think one time I was looking over on somebody's paper. I don't know if it was a test or a quiz or whatever it is. Right. Now, you know, you got a good memory. You go way back. But, you know, there are things that happen in your life, right, that you just remember. Right. And I remember her saying to me, hey, don't do that. Right. And she said, you know, don't take something from somebody. Right. You should always work hard on yourself, right? He said, work for what you want, right? Don't take something from somebody, right? And she said, you got to put in the work so that you can get the results. And I remember that saying forever. So I always made up my mind, you know, let me work, right? Because life, you said life don't come easy, but you got to work, you know. So yeah, that's Miss Sherman. Yeah, so we go like way. I'm gonna say something to you, right? And I know that my mother just came up there, right?
Oh wow!
She said she loves you, man.
I love her too.
Oh man, Ma, you're gonna hear something for the first time. I haven't said it in quite a while. I don't know what grade that was. We were in. I think I would say it was 6th grade. I'm about to tell a story. I think we skipped school.
What was it, me?
Man, you was with me. Come on.
Mom, it
wasn't you. Well, we went back to the house, because I think I had my key. It could have been 6th or 7th grade. I could have had my key, and we went in there, and they had this is when I realized I didn't have an appetite for liquor, because underneath the sink there was my mom and dad used to keep some little liquor there, man, and I think we had a little taste test. Yeah, not true. You won't remember that, but I mean, we had a little taste test, right? And that stuff was terrible, man.
Yeah, it was terrible. Wherever it happened at, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible, man. I went right back. We went right back to school, man. I don't know how we got out of school, but we got out of school and went right back to school, man. I'm like, man, this don't make no sense, right? But yeah, that's a new secret that just came out.
Okay. But I will say to your mom, I've loved her all my life, and the thing that I really remember was going over to your house and drinking the high C fruit drinks. That's what I remember. And but I love your family, and you, Doug, and Curtis, and Tracy, but I've been going from Mount Vernon for so long, and but every time my feet hit Mount Vernon, I always tried to come through the boys club and see you. I didn't catch you most of the times, but I did. But I'm glad to be with you, bro. I'm so proud of all that you've done. I'm proud of what you continue to do. You're a great light to the community of Mount Vernon, New York, and I appreciate people like you. And I'm thankful and grateful that you've been a lifelong friend.
Yeah, same here, man. I just remember that those were good times, man. And I couldn't find those pictures when when we was in high school, right? I think we was in high school. We was in church, right? We was in church, and we went to the Pentecostal conference in Washington, D.C. And we were dressed in the all white. I couldn't find that. I couldn't find those pictures.
That's where that came from.
Yeah. The Pentecostal conference in Washington, D.C. We were down, because James Jones was with us, Reggie Jones. We were from, you said Wesley. Yeah, Wesley was there. That was a good time too, man. I mean, good friends, are hard to come by.
True.
And we've had some amazing friends over the years that we stay in contact with. I mean, it's just awesome, man. True. And I tell you, because one of the things I talk about and I want you to share with us is the importance of family, faith, education. Now, your mom, I love your mom, man. She was tough, man. I'm telling you, man. Like I used to,
we boys.
I used to, you live right down up the street on the corner from Nathan Hale, now CCOH Parker, and I used to knock on the door for you. Knock on the door. Your mom used to come. I'm like, oh, shoot, oh, Terry, come downstairs. She used to give me that look like, man, what you want, man? I'm gonna bring you in here, man. I'm gonna have to discipline you. So talk to me about family, man. Talk to me about family of the past. Because I have some pictures and family in the past, and talk about how they laid the foundation for you in regards to the importance of family, the importance of faith and education. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, family, as the years have gone by, has increasingly gotten more important to me, because my mother and my father were separated from when I was 4 years old, although he lived in Mount Vernon and I did see him very often. I didn't really have oh, Lord. I didn't really have extended family. I had an uncle in New York City or the Bronx, but him and my father was estranged. And then my mother's side of the family, they were all down in Georgia. So I didn't really have cousins. I didn't grow up around cousins. And as I got older, it was always my desire to reach out to my family. My mother, I didn't realize until I became an adult and had kids what a job she did in raising 3 boys. My dad was around, but he didn't do as much as he could have done. I didn't realize that until after his passing. And I came to New York, and I was on my way back to Virginia Beach, and I was going across. Anybody came from New York, New Jersey, or Delaware into Virginia Beach, got across that Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was just 2 lanes, one going in each direction. I didn't really show emotions during the whole time taking care of the arrangements, but my dad used to fish, and he had a boat in Long Island. Did that all my life. And going across that Bay Bridge Tunnel, bam, it hit me. The emotions came, and the tears came, and there was the big crocodile tears, and and I was like, Lord. But it also hit me because I was a single parent of my daughters at 2 different times in my life. And the second time with my youngest daughter, while in high school, it was very challenging. And it just came back to my mind that I don't know about anybody else, but I used to we got 1 pair of sneakers a year.
If that.
And I remember having holes in my sneakers and have to put cardboard in it. And so when it rained, everything would get wet. And I just thought on those things, but it made me think about family and how important family is. But in my latter days, my dad was sick. He had something close to a dementia type thing. And he would tell everybody where he was. One thing he just always remembered, my son, see, I stayed out of a lot of trouble. My oldest brother, that was a different story. But I stayed out of trouble.
You talking about that's George?
Yeah, George Jr. Yeah,
George Jr. Okay.
We call him Junior. Folks they call him Doc. I'm like, who's Doc? But it made me realize when my dad would tell everybody, he would forget a lot of stuff. But he said, my son Terry, he's a preacher, and he lives in Virginia. And I grew to have I always loved him, but I grew to have a different type of love. And then, my mom is just hands down, I love my mom. And when she retired from New York and moved back to Georgia, I asked her to come live with me in Texas. And she said no, she was going back to Georgia, live with her sister, who was her best friend. And she went there. And every so often I would ask my mom, hey, come, Texas is nice. Why don't you come here? Nope. A woman of short words. And then a year before she passed, we were, my wife and my kids, we were at her house. And I said, Mom, we're getting ready to, go out and look for a new house. Why don't you come to Texas? And she said, okay. The whole room went silent. It just went silent. And I was like, oh, wow. So I had to, kind of change my plans on what kind of house I was looking for, to have a bedroom downstairs. And so we found the house. It was kind of, it had cows out there and horses out there, something like that. Whether we the city or not, I like that environment. And so we acquired the house. No. It was 2 months before we closed. My mom passed away.
Wow.
And it was very difficult for me to move into the house because everything I was seeing was designed for her. But family, man, is just so very important. Knowing your roots is important. To know where your people came from. My mother came from Georgia. My daddy came from Alabama, and then went to Florida. But family is one of the most important assets that we can own, and it really means the world to me. It means the world to me. I can't say no more than that. And then you mentioned faith.
Yes.
I guess you may remember this. We were great friends in elementary school, but I think we separated either when we went to Washington, because we was in Washington for 1 year.
Washington Junior High School, now the Denzel School of Arts.
Oh, that's what it is?
Denzel Washington School of Arts. Yeah.
Okay. It's either we separated there or we were definitely separated at Nichols.
Yes.
And that's when I started getting in a little trouble.
Just a little.
Just a little. And then we kind of reunited when we got back to high school. But at that point, I seen a difference in you, because somewhere in around there, as far as I can remember, you made a decision to give your life to the Lord.
Yeah, 9th grade.
And so I'm like, oh wow, Lowe's is saved. And I'm like, well, I ain't trying to do that. We knew about salvation because people used to preach on the street and all that kind of stuff. And I used to always say as a youngster that I would get saved when I get maybe 50 or 60. That was old back then. It's not old now, but it was old back then. But as I kept, and Lowe's, he was inviting me to these youth things. And, I'm trying to keep the relationship, but I said, I ain't going to that. and then I went fishing with my dad. And my dad used to drink a lot. He was a functional alcoholic. And we got into a terrible car accident.
Wow.
And when I went back to see I was in the hospital for like 3 weeks, messed up my back. When I went to see the vehicle, I was like, wow, how did anybody ever get out of that car alive? And then I was homeschooled because of my injuries. But then when I went back to school and I seen you, and I just remember you inviting me to a youth meeting in Peekskill, New York.
Oh, yeah, David Robinson.
Yeah, and so I said, you know what? Lord, thank you for sparing my life. I think I'm going to go. No, before that, it was this young girl in high school I wanted to talk to, and she wouldn't give me the time of day. And, it was what it was. But then when Lowe's asked me to come to the youth conference, she asked me to come to a party the same weekend. But before that, Lowe's told me, she said, the devil's going to try you and keep you from making that decision. And so when she asked me to come, immediately, I said, I got to go to the youth conference. And that was the point that I made a decision that I was going to walk towards Christ. And that was directly because of you.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
And I can't count up the years, but
yeah, well, hey, what are good friends for?
Yeah.
If something good happens to you, right, you want to share something good that happens to you. And I felt like this, in the direction that I was going, and in the direction that I see my family go. And I'm not talking like my brothers and stuff because they were younger, my mom and everything. But right. I had a lot of cousins, like you talk about extended family. I had a lot of cousins. I had a lot of cousins that weren't doing good, and I could have easily fell into that. And I was actually going in that direction, until high school. Yeah. And then once I felt that presence, and I felt good, and I got that, started getting that. Earlier I mentioned my word of the week was the gospel, right? When I started to get that good news, right? I just wanted to share it, and I wanted to share it with all my friends because I felt good about it, and I was having a great experience with it. I wanted to share it, so I shared with all my friends, all guys I thought were my brothers. So I wanted to share it too. So whether you choose to go in that direction or not, I felt compelled to share it.
But sharing, we as Christians and believers and stuff, and during the time that we came up, we really did try to win people to Christ. But I have been hearing people sharing the message of salvation since a youngster. But I said, okay, when I get old. And it reminds me.
I think we always say when we get old, yeah. I got time.
Right. And it reminds me of the scripture, Ecclesiastes 12:1, and I think it's the NIV. Don't let the excitement of your youth to cause you to forget your Creator. Honor Him in your youth before you grow old and say life is not pleasant anymore. And because of the road that I came through, that's what I share. I shared it with my kids. Now I'm sharing it with, I shared it with my oldest granddaughter. Lowe's know I started young. But God is good. And my oldest granddaughter is 21. She'll be 21 years old.
Dang. I'm just starting. Say
Right.
that again. Your oldest granddaughter is what?
She'll be 21 on the 31st. Yeah, the one in the little one. And we call her Big Girl. And she goes to St. John University.
Oh, nice. She's up here with us.
Yeah, that was interesting. She's majoring in law. She wants to be a sports agent. So we can talk about that off camera.
Yeah.
She wants to be a sports agent. She's been on the dean list. This is her senior year. Every year she's been on the dean list. And it's just amazing. But I share that message with them because for me, making that decision to come to Christ young kept us, people our age, people was using heroin, and whether people, I don't have the same people smoke weed and whatever, that's their business. I never did, but we could have went so many different ways, but because of the decision that we made in giving our lives to Christ, I know it made my life a better life.
Yeah. And before you, go ahead and talk about how the transition from your life, and you kind of talking about it, a little bit now, and now that you are in this family situation, you navigating your way, and now you got just a wonderful family. How you were able to transition to that where you are right now in regards to your family, because you were just saying it to your granddaughter, you're trying to share it, but you got to married, children, more grandchildren, and how that transition was for you in terms of now you're the head. You and your wife are the head now, and you creating this culture for yourself. I think you just started with your granddaughter.
Yeah. Well, as far as being like the head of the family, I'm not the oldest brother, but in growing up, me and my oldest brother are only 11 months, a couple of days apart. So we're the same age. For 14 days, something like that. But I was treated like the eldest. But having my own family and starting very young, now, full disclosure, that's my second wife.
Okay.
Just full disclosure. I don't want, somebody to know the other one and say, guess what, Terry said, gonna erase you. But having a child young, right after high school, I didn't know what I was doing. But the thing that I said I wanted to be a good father. And I didn't know what that was either. But some of the mistakes that I felt that my dad had made, I said, those mistakes I won't make. And that's been really my plan for my whole life, is I wanted to be a good father. And I wasn't always the best husband, but my kids will say, and my grandkids, especially that little boy, that's a little boy down at the bottom with the blue, with all that hair. Oh, Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, we got a grandson like that. He got a head full of hair too. Everybody say, "Oh, she's so cute." No, he's a little boy.
I tell his mom, please cut his hair. But anyway, I've always wanted to be a good father, and that just transitioned over into my grandkids, because as a Black man, society would want to paint a picture that we're not good fathers, you know. And I recall going to child support court, you know, and the examiner was there in New York, in New Rochelle. And the examiner, for younger Black males who maybe listen to this at any point, if you have children, and you're not married to the parent, and you got to go to child support court, you know, get it documented, what you're paying. But the thing that happened in that child support court, but if you can, get a lawyer. Don't go in there by yourself like I did. And the person asked me, well, how much can you afford to pay for child support? I said, I'll pay for whatever you order. I give child support now, and I know it's more than anything that you would tell me to give. And so the examiner said to me in there, well, you Black men don't take care of your kids anyway. Yeah. And that "oh" from you reminds me of, we was in South Carolina, and we was walking around the hotel lobby, and this white lady asked us to get her bags. Boys, we sure come get our bags. And we looked at each other, you know. But you can't do that in court.
Right.
And I said, are you talking to me? I said, I'm the only one that goes to PTA meetings. I'm the only one that knows all my kids' parents. I said, I take care of my kids. You know what she told me? What? If you don't be quiet, I'm going to cite you for contempt of court, and I'll lock you up. So I always wanted to be a good father. And that's one thing, as I became an adult, and, you know, I worked in and around the gospel music industry, and I would attach to young men who maybe had children but didn't have good relationships, and try to get them to mend those relationships, because, man, our children become our biggest blessing. My wife loves me. My wife takes care of me, but nobody takes care of me like my daughters. You know, I got a son, he take care of me too. He buys me all my sports gear, you know. But man, it's a ever growing process, because we help raise them, but then when they get into their mid-late 20s and 30s and get into their careers and stuff, they're not the same little kids that we had to raise.
That's right.
And we have to change how we deal with them and stuff. I went to my baby girl. She was working in California for Mercedes-Benz, and I went out there to visit her. I never seen her, and she worked for Mercedes in Atlanta. I never seen her in her work environment. And I went there, and I mean, she was just total boss. But before I came to Christ, I used to use a lot of profanity, you know. But after I came to Christ, I said, Lord, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, because it just flows, and God helped me. But when I see my baby girl out there, and this is in a work environment, she works with a number of executives, and her potty mouth, I said, you can't talk like that. You wasn't raised like that. Daddy, I'm grown. So it changes. But my kids today, I was worried about my son for a little while, but he's got himself together. They're all doing great. I'm proud of them. And they have relationship. They're spiritual. Not like when we came up, we said we were saved. They're spiritual and they give reverence to God. And them being good adults and give reverence to God, I can ask for nothing better than that.
Awesome, man. Yeah. And before we transition, I want to show you. I found something. I don't know if you remember these, man, but look at this here.
People don't know nothing about them.
You know, I found them on Amazon, right? I looked at them, man. I said, I used to play. Well, you know, this is just fabric here, right?
And the bottoms too.
Yeah. No, yeah. But I played in the high tops.
Okay.
But they were just like playing in these. I mean, the only thing it was just holding the sneaker together. But and besides this was the Converse, right?
Right.
But remember, everybody was wearing Converse, and I had to be different. And so my junior and senior year, I wore these Pro Kids.
Okay.
Right. These Pro Kids here, and I picked them up, man. I was like, man, I hadn't seen Pro Kids in years, man. So it just.
Man, I love that sneaker. I think your son had made for you.
Oh yeah, the Nike. Yeah,
with
they
the
were
teams and stuff you played for or something.
Yeah, there's a young lady in Mount Vernon that paints, does logos and different things like that, and they paint them on anything: pants, clothes, jackets.
Cool.
But he had the sneakers done.
Okay, yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah. And so, as you transition from, in terms of family, but education, leaving school and then staying in, because staying in the ministry, different things like that, transitioning through that, and then finally, getting into this whole world in terms of your career, getting into the gospel. Right. Talk about that transition educationally into the gospel, and how that was. And, we had a conversation about the gospel yesteryear and the gospel today, and let me say this, let me say this before you get started. We always assume when we enter something, we always enter with the mindset this going to be good. This is just the perfect thing. This is just the thing, and, I just thought just going to play basketball, as I entered to that world of playing basketball, something that I love to do. Right. And I didn't realize how challenging it was going to be entering into that world, because it was more than just practicing and getting better and becoming a great basketball player, but there were trials and tribulations in it, right? And that's everything we do, whether we get in a job or whether we even get into the church. I mean, we remember this as young people in high school when we first got into the church and how we loved it and how we like, man, this is different than being in the life we were in the bondage we were in the trials and tests. We thought all trials and tests was going to be over once we got in, but as we went along, we realized, hey, church is not much different than the world. Right. So talk a little bit about that experience and then trying to sustain by going into this career of the gospel.
Well, school for me, because I got married the same year that I graduated high school. It broke my mother's heart because I didn't know I had a partial scholarship to Savannah State University, and I had a lot to do with one of my aunts. And I told her that I was making a decision to get married because I didn't really have any counsel. I went to my pastor, and he told me to get married. I went to my dad. My dad said, son, you got to do the right thing. But, you know, and you didn't come back at my dad twice. And I didn't know what the right thing was. And my mother, you know, she didn't say a lot of words. The young lady had problems with her kidneys, and my mother said she's going to cost you a lot of money. And but so I decided to get married, and so school was out of the picture at that time. And then a few years later, I went to Mercy College, the Yonkers campus, and took some business courses. But with working and taking care of a family and being in church, the way church was then for me, I decided to let the school part go. But I had to work to take care of my family. And so I was working in a machine shop at a company called Dell Electronics that was on Sanford Boulevard. That used to be next to the old post office. I know it's, you know, it's been going for years. And they told me, because I was good in algebra, I was good in trigonometry, you know, in high school, never thought I would use it. Never thought I would use trigonometry. Never, you know. And I hear people still kind of say that. But that was all I did, was deal with angles, circumferences, diameters, you know. And they said, well, you know, to really make some money, you're going to have to go to school. And so I went to New York Technical School. They paid for some of it down in New York City. It was a course that they had that was for 2 years that taught you how to work on the program to computerized machines. So that was the next step that I did. But then I moved to Virginia Beach and working for the shipyard as a machinist. But the way that they fixed things at the shipyard was with a hammer. And that blew my mind because we used to work in New York. There was things, if it was the thickness of a strand of hair, it'd be messed up. And so I went to school for computers, IT. But the only reason I was kind of getting involved with music at the time, I was doing a little bit of stuff at the radio station, being an announcer. And one of my best friends was a songwriter, and he used to deal with Macintosh computers. And I wanted to learn how to network Macs, you know, so you can have one Mac as your server. We didn't use them terms back then, you know, right? But the way the Mac iOS was, you can use it as a server and chain them together so you can share programs. So I went and I got some MCSE and Microsoft stuff, but they didn't do Macs. So, but that was the end of my schooling there with the MCSE, which is, they had just started touching into fiber optics, and I didn't really do that part. But school is so very important because I realized that some of my friends that were around me that went to school got their degrees and things like that. But to be truthful, and it's not about being smart. School is not about being smart. It's about being focused and sticking to it. But they got their degrees and they went into a different direction. But at the shipyard, I got injured. And it took years, but they settled with me. And some of my friends said, Terry, you got it made. You know, but so I'm saying, how many vacations can you take? You know, right. You know, and so I said I have to find something else to do. I had been working for a radio station as an announcer, and so then another radio station wanted me to come in and be the manager, and so I did that, and that was the beginning of me getting into the professional side of gospel music. But my first getting my toe wet in gospel music, you know who it came from?
Who was that?
Your mother. It was a concert. I think it was where Allen Memorial is right now. It was a quartet concert. I think the guy's name was Hawkins, and Mighty Clouds of Joy was there.
Yeah.
With Joe Lagan. And
right.
Ooh, that was, I never seen Christian smoking before, and I seen that, and I was like, I'm confused. But that's when I got, my toe dipped into the whole gospel music thing. And I had the privilege of working with Joe Lagan and a group that I worked with from Houston, Texas, on the last song that he ever recorded. And he was an amazing man. But coming up the way that I did, I had to make my own way with the help of God. But being a machinist, taking some business classes, it still gave me a foundation. And after being injured, I said, well, what am I going to do? And so me and my buddies, I put the money up to start a little recording studio. And that fizzled out because working with people, the most important thing that you have to understand, you got to have a business mindset. Like you play basketball. The game didn't disappoint you, but probably the business did.
Yeah, it's different.
It can be very grueling. And so doing things on your own, you work with a team, and whoever's on your team is very important. One thing that I learned from being a Christian, that you have to study. You have to read.
Yeah, you do.
And they say we don't read. That's what they put out on us. And a lot of us don't. And I read a book. It's been about 15 years ago now. It's called 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. It's by a guy named Patrick Laconey. Wow.
Yeah, we're going to have to get that book.
And somewhere in my garage, he came to my church and he taught the book. Somewhere in my garage. But it changed my life when it comes to just dealing with a team, whether it's in business, whether it's in church, and why things fail. And I would use it as I would talk to people. And I was in Virginia talking to a young lady in New Jersey, started an upstart record label. And she said, well, would you come up here and talk to my team about, the different things of a record label, publishing and, royalties and, things of that nature. And so I went and I taught, as a minister, we would kind of copy, stuff from Bishop Washington or, you copy some stuff, some stuff, but you put your own twist to it. And I used his book as my blueprint. So the young lady, after it was over, she says, I want you to come back and I want you to talk to my team at work, the same thing that you taught us here. And I said, okay, fine. Fine. You've been in New York most of your life. They say New Yorkers are arrogant. Okay, fine, I'll do that. And so then I talked to her fiance. I said, well, where does she work at? She said, well, we had the meeting. I said, was it the Jersey Turnpike? I don't know if it's still there. The Hess gasoline building that used to sit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Top executive there.
Wow.
And when I found that out, I was shaking in my boots.
Yeah.
And so, I went there and, but this book, I'm telling you, Patrick Laconey, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, is on Amazon, it's out there everywhere. I still use it today. That book and Watchman Nee, A Normal Christian Life.
On Normal Christian Life, Watchman Nee. Yeah, I remember that book.
Those have been books I've been giving to people. That Watchman Nee, I've given it to at least 20 people who are now pastors and, they was in college. That book has really blessed my life. But reading is very important. But so the whole gospel music thing. So working at the radio station was fun. Then when I left the radio station, because it's no money. It was no money. It was no money, no money. And so I started managing artists. That was okay, but it brought me into a place where I didn't want to be. Used to travel every weekend. And as a manager, you're not up on stage, but for some reason, the enemy knows who we are and where we are. And I would be with the artists. And after a while, I started getting these, I was single, but I had a daughter, but I was single. And I started getting these questions. What hotel you're staying in? And
right.
I was dumb. I was always dumb, when it came to that.
Right.
And so I told somebody at one time, and they came to the hotel. Now the group members all shared rooms, but I had a room by myself.
Right.
And this young lady came to the room, and but that time I had enough strength to reject it.
Right.
That time. But I found that happening over and over again. I didn't date while the 4 years when my daughter was with me in high school, because I didn't want her seeing me with different people. I felt that was my responsibility as a parent, not to see different women in and out of my life. But so on the road, I started accepting these invitations of these females. And then just one day, nothing super deep, you know how we get deep as Christians. God just said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Wow." And I never forget this message that Bishop F.D. Washington preached about drifting. Drifting is a slow process. But, even with my dad having boats and stuff like that, and Bishop Washington said, the problem with drifting is you get in the water and you look back and you see the shoreline. But when you drift and you don't pay attention, you'll look back and the shoreline is so far away, you can't get back, even if you want to. And I had realized that I had drifted so far from a place that I didn't want to be in. And so I immediately, I didn't try to pray it away. I didn't try to fast it away. I cut it off. I stopped managing because it wasn't important enough for me, as I believe as a Christian, to lose my soul. So years later, I was before they started doing syndicated radio, I was doing a recorded program and putting it on a CD and sending it to some radio stations. And it went out to Seattle, Washington. And so the guy contacted the station to inquire about me and said God told him I was the one that's going to get his music out. And so when he told me that, I said, "But I don't do that." And he said, "Well, that's what God told me." So I asked my friend, I said, "Is he one of them spooky Christians?" Because we get some spooky folks,
right.
under the umbrella of being saved. And he says, "No, Sonny is just, he's a hardworking guy." And so because of that, I considered it. And working at radio stations, people trying to get their music on the radio stations, I used to feel those calls. And so there was a white guy in California. I asked several Black people to help me. Everybody closed the door. They couldn't help me. But this, I didn't meet most of these people, but there's one white guy, and his name is Brett Keller. And he says, "Terry," he has this funny accent. He said, "Terry, I'm going to help you. I'm going to send you some information." Let me put it that way, because we don't do that in our world. "I'm going to send you some information, but I don't want you to contact any of these people until I introduce you." And he was the one to help me get started. So I did this guy, Sonny Byers, and they wouldn't play his music in Seattle, Washington, where he was from. But when I sent it to him and representing him, they played it. and he thanked me. And then he turned me on to some guys in LA. I worked with them, and some young ladies in Seattle, Washington. I worked with them. But then I went back and I wasn't charging any money. I was just getting a little money, take my wife to dinner, a nice dinner or something. But I asked the guy, Brett Keller, I said, well, how much do you make, doing this, Max? And that was 2002. And he says, well, I get about $850 per client. I said, okay. I was charging these people $50, $50, $100. And so I said, okay. And so that made me want to learn the business of music and what they call radio promotions. And so I started, you go to these conferences, music conferences. It doesn't matter whether it's gospel or R&B. The artists, as long as they can get on stage, they go. If they got to pay fees, they go. But in the classes, no one is there. I just left the Stellar Awards a couple months ago, whenever it was, and in July. Lord, somebody, you got a good producer, Doc. You're going to make me up my game. But at the Stellar Awards, they have these classes, and some of the top people in the industry was teaching these classes. And I knew a lot of artists that were there, independent artists, and none of them were in the class. I met some in the hallway before the class, and they telling me what they do. Oh man, Andre Crouch. Wow. I don't take pictures with people. I really don't. I don't. But I seen Andre when I was in the airport coming from a conference, and I said, I got to get a picture with him because Andre Crouch, he changed my whole mind about gospel music, because when we came into the church, and wanted to be involved in ministry, we singing in choir, and they singing Mahalia Jackson and Albertina Walker and stuff like that. And, I came up listening to Sly and the Family Stone, sneaking out the window to go see James Brown. I couldn't, it didn't do it for me.
Yeah, but you needed a new sound.
Yes, and Andre Crouch brought it, and that's the whole thing. Even with gospel music today, there's new sounds out there, and I feel old because some of the new sounds just doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
And my problem was never the sound, because like with Andre Crouch, his sound was new, but his lyrics were solid. It wasn't no guessing what he was talking about. Wasn't Mickey Mouse. It was solid. But today in gospel music, some people are tracing trends to try to cross over somewhere, to cross over to R&B, to cross over to more of the white music, worship, or CCM. But if you study music, gospel music, you'll find that Andre Crouch, Walter Hawkins, even the Mighty Clouds of Joy, their songs that crossed over and got played in clubs and got played on urban radio were solid gospel songs.
That's right.
They didn't. They weren't trying to cross over. Their message was so strong, and the beat and stuff was acceptable that it went over. But today we chase stuff, and I'm not a fan of all of it, but I understand the back end and the business side of it too. But so music for me as a profession, it's just kind of evolved. As I teach young men and some of the young sisters, they get really mad at me. Why you only deal with young men? Because I knew that there was a lot of young men that I grew up with. We didn't have.
You seen that question down there, huh?
Maynard. That's somebody in your family, right?
Yeah, my son-in-law.
Yeah. Okay. Maverick City. Let me see. I've never really done this before. No. That right there. That's from Billboard. #1 song from a guy named Dante Bowe. He is a part of Maverick City. Oh, okay. I got to get your producer to help us with us. But he is a part of Maverick City. It's not so much Maverick City that I have an issue with. I have an issue with how Black music has always been appropriated by non-Blacks. They took R&B and they made it pop. And what we call what became R&B has really disappeared. They took jazz, and Blacks has been erased from that. White people have recorded our songs, Chubby Checker or whoever, and the original person has been erased from that. Maverick City was a business decision by a white pastor who wanted to have a larger footprint with music. Whether it's worship music or CCM, and that genre has kind of changed a lot too. Just music is a numbers game. It's a numbers game. And whenever you deal with music, whoever has the larger numbers is usually Caucasian backed. Even to the point where hip hop or rap is mainly Black people in the lead, but more white people buy hip hop and rap than Blacks do. So they wanted to make an impact with white artists into the Black gospel segment. But one thing that this pastor did, he says, we want to front it with Black people. I don't care for that worship style music just because from the music standpoint, when you listen to people like Andre Crouch or Edwin Hawkins and the musical skill, I don't play. My best friend was a Grammy songwriter and he played. But they have like a couple of basic chords that repeat. That's Mickey Mouse for me. And then understanding the whole thing of gospel music, I'm gonna make it short. Churches don't want to pay musicians. It's easy to pay somebody to do 4 chords, a turnaround, and then they're gone. But when you listen to like Edwin Hawkins, Andre Crouch, Thomas Whitfield, even the choirs, Timothy Wright, listen to the skill of the musicians. It was one song that Michael Rogers wrote. Now,
I remember Michael.
Talking musically, he played something, to become a record, then everybody in the church would try to sing it. But what he did was he was playing a chord structure, and then he broke the structure of the chord and played that irregular chord that you would never put together. And people would always say, because when you play it, it's like playing a sport. You're going to do a crossover, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's mechanics. He broke the mechanics of it. So people playing the song, they're going to follow the mechanics. But they say, no, but that's wrong. That's not, we can't make that change until he started telling people what he did. But this worship music and the CCM is so simplistic. It just doesn't do anything for me. Now, that question was about Kirk Franklin passing the torch. Unfortunately, do you think Kirk Franklin had the right to pass the gospel torch to Maverick City? I guess that's what they're saying. That Kirk is a great guy. We go to the same church. I go to Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. Dr. Tony Evans is my pastor. I love him. Wow. Excellent man. But Kirk is a good guy. I didn't have the conversation with Kirk, but that was a business decision. Kirk, for decades, has been one of the biggest elements of Black gospel music.
Mm-hmm.
But Black gospel music on a scale from 1 to 10, oh man, that dude.
For sure.
Wow. Wow. Oh, I love that guy, man. But we got a lot of history too. But that was a business decision. Gospel music on the spectrum of 1 to 10 only covers to about maybe 4. But what Maverick City has done, man, they've gone off the chain because they brung the white side in with the Black side. That's why their concerts sell out. And so it was a great business decision. Anybody would want Kirk. You know, his musical genius is just crazy. If you go through his history, he wrote for choirs, he wrote for his group, always had a new sound, had some of the old people, Rance Allen and all the different people. But that was a business decision. When Kirk joined in with Maverick City, his music grew exponentially with white people. You know, some things is not just on the surface. There's a business side behind it. Now, do I think Blacks and whites need to come together? Absolutely. I have Caucasian friends, and I have one young lady in my car. She's young. You know, she's younger than me, so she's young. And I was playing some choir music, and she says, "That's great music." She says, where can I hear that at? I said, they played on the radio. But she listens to white radio. It's a big network. They don't play Black artists. And that's a shame, you know, that gospel Christian music is segregated, you know, just like the church is. You're kidding. We got to get together. Oh, wow. I'm sorry, Birdwalk, Robin. It's segregated, just like churches. Sunday morning is the most segregated, you know, day ever. And now, whatever it is, Trumpism or whatever, it's just crazy. But the true gospel music, like Lo said in the beginning, it's about good news. I'm good with inspirational. I'm good with Christian hip hop. I just never liked hip hop. Never did when it first came out. I said, that ain't going nowhere. Wow, would I be wrong? But never liked it. But now as I reflect back, man, I love the sound, not the lyrics. I love the sound of Biggie Smalls. I love the sound of Tupac. They were more unique with their music and not just a carbon copy. But gospel music and where I'm at right now, it becomes frustrating at times because most artists, you know, they want those, you know, but those cost money. And you have to have a team. Both of those artists, different people involved, but each of them had a team of at least 4 people dealing with radio alone. And that's not including the publicists, and whoever else, social media people. So it becomes a little frustrating when people desire charts. And now people are getting ripped off because they desire a chart. And,
so how do you, in terms of, I know we got a little picture of Dr. Bobby Jones and and so like what you're talking about in regards to the aspect of, finding that balance between what is real and authentic in regards to being a Christian, right? And the same thing in terms of Christian music, right? And finding the diversity in Christianity, right? How do we find the balance in diversity, and how do we stay authentic yet understand business at the same time without losing, the purpose in which we got into gospel music or becoming a Christian?
Okay, that's really kind of easy for me. Gospel music, one, is the message. That's number one. So you keep your message right, then the diversity, people of my generation, most of them feel that some of the best gospel music came out in the 80s and the 90s. That was a very successful time for gospel music. But now, as being a Christian, what happens, gospel music as a ministry is not gospel music as the industry. Two different things. And the industry, or even dealing with secular music, they garner it, like there's a lot of things going on with people sampling people's music, and did they have permission to do it? This, that, and the other. It's going on forever. You would write a song, you would come to me because I'm a great producer, I can get it out. But you don't know I stole your song from you. That happens in the industry. It's always happened. That hasn't changed. So how I used to sign people to production contracts, young people to production contracts. And in the contracts, I told them that they was assigning their rights over to me. And that happens, when you get a production deal or label deal, you assign your rights over to the label so they can do with it, what they need to do to make it get out. But you have to understand what that means. And so even like with James Brown, he was like one of my favorites because he realized what had happened to Chubby Checker and some of the older guys of losing their rights. He owned all his stuff. And I would sign these contracts with them and tell them they'd sign their rights over. And what I would do, I would put no time length. You signed many contracts, and when they told you they was going to pay you, they told you how long that contract was worth, how long it was going to be. And so things like that happen because people go into they have ministry on mind, but they go into the industry not understanding the business, not understanding, get a lawyer, oh man, I've seen major artists, they go sign or they change record labels and they says, well, who's your attorney? And they say, I don't have an attorney. One of my good friends from New York. If I said his name, everybody know who he is, And he says, well, we don't have an attorney. We used to use, other labels' attorney. And so they said, so we'll give you an attorney and we'll give you an attorney. So they gave him an attorney. And the attorney signed him into a deal where, and this happens all the time, where he got paid for, because he was a well-known artist, he got paid for his first project, a lot of money, but the record labels have to make that money back. And that's a long thing on how they make their money back. And so, but they gave him so much money, he signed it. But in what they call recoupment, he was paying nickels back for the recoupment. So the record label never recouped the money. So on his second album, he owed them money before he started. And so you have to know the business. And I know a little bit about cars, but you know, cars have changed and stuff like that. If something go wrong with your car, and I ain't never messed with, I've changed radiators in cars. When I had a Buick, you know, it was straightforward and simple. But when I was blessed to be able to buy a nice German car, I just put it that way, man, most mechanics didn't touch that car. You have to take your stuff to a professional when you're dealing in the world of professionals. Don't think that you can do everything. Don't think your mama, because she's your manager, because she feels calls, she can handle understanding a contract. And I would do that to young artists and put no dates in them, to when it ends. I put when it started, but it was no date when it ended. And then after they signed it, I waited for them to sign it, and then I told them what they did because I wanted them to learn the lesson, and then I would rip it up. So the industry and ministry are two different things, because gospel music industry is no different than what we call secular. I don't like that term, but it's no different. It's no difference. Royalties are royalties. Publishing is publishing. Mechanicals is mechanicals. And you have to understand that stuff.
Right. And we're running over by, a few minutes here, but I think I think that's important because, there are many people who desire to be in, I played basketball because I loved it. Right. And I wasn't really thinking about the money side of it. I never thought about when I was playing, my dream was to play in the NBA. I was never thinking about money. Right. But we live in a time now where, most guys who play, they got talent or skills, right? They may not necessarily love it. They just in it because there's the money. There's the money side of it, right? And so finding that balance between wanting to make the money, but not losing your soul in the midst of making the money, or the ministry that started out, right? The ministry that started out, I'm growing this ministry. I want people to come to God. I want to bless people. And then it transitions into, well, the only thing I got to get those people in there because I got to take care of my car. I got to make sure my house is good. And it's no longer ministry. It's no longer church. Right. And people go in with good intentions, just like going for being a politician, going for, a job. We go in there saying we want to change these things, but we change in the midst of it. And we, and what people don't understand, it's a spirit to it.
Yes.
Right. It's a spirit to it. When you get there, all the things you say you want to do with the church, all the things you want to do with gospel music, all the things you want to do with basketball, then you get there and realize you changed. Right. I don't know if you remember this when Dwight Howard, remember Dwight Howard? He got drafted by, I think, the Orlando Magic. Right. Came out right out of high school, came out of Christian school. And his whole goal was to change the NBA logo into a cross because, he was saved,
Right.
Right. And I mean, he got into that world. We never heard that again. Right. We never heard that again. So, yeah, finding that balance where resource and ministry, right, can stay genuine. You're right.
Right. A lot of that will come back to your team. because as an artist, you don't deal with a lot of things. So when you are an artist, a pastor, you have to have the right team around you. And wow, that's right there, your team. Because as you know, Bishop F.D. Washington said something. He was saying how this homeless guy would come around the church, and people say, be careful of that, he may hurt you, something like that. And Bishop Washington said, I'm not worried about him. And then he says, but I realize that every day there's 1,000 opportunities for me. This is what he said. There's 1,000 opportunities for me to lose my salvation. There's always stuff that's coming by. And when you're in a certain position, you have to have people who tell you the truth. So whatever made Dwight change his mind about that cross, I don't know. Being in church, I know this personally. You get in church, your desire is to minister. Your desire may be to become a pastor. But then you get into the politics of church, there's the ladder. And then to climb the ladder, you got to please certain people. And then in pleasing certain people, there may be certain things that you may have to do. And that's when you start, and that's in everything, in gospel music. In gospel music, you may want to start off ministering. But if you're going into it because of the money, you started wrong. And then on top of it, it ain't a whole lot of money in gospel music, really. I've been doing this for a long time, and one thing that I wouldn't do is want to be an artist. And today I wouldn't invest my money into an artist because the money is not there. Or if I was to invest my money in an artist, the funny thing, people would be very surprised. I would invest it into a quartet group that goes out on the road and sings every week, because that's the only place that you're really going to make your money back is on the road. So, but if you're singing because of money or just in the business and you want to keep your integrity, you have to have a good team, somebody that's going to check you, somebody that's going to tell you you're making bad decisions. That's really the best thing that I can say is having the right team. Because when you have the wrong team, they lead you down the wrong paths. Like I know artists that are preachers and they won't sing a song, not one note of a song, because you asked them to preach. And if you want them to sing, you have to pay them more. I understand the business of that, to a certain degree. But if I'm a well-known singer and I come to your church to preach, and then someone's, hollers out my song, can you please sing Jesus Keep Me by the Cross? And then I say no. I don't get that, because then who are we ministering to, and what are we ministering for? Now, I'm not doing a full concert. I appreciate John P. Key for this. I learned this from him a long time ago. He went to a lot of places, and he didn't get paid his money. But he got thousands of people out there want to hear him sing. Some artists will never hit the stage. And he says, no, I'm going to get out there. I'm going to do a medley of songs real quick, and so they can be happy. So your team, it's all about your team. And then go back to that book, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, learn how to build a good team.
Yeah. And so very, very quickly, since you mentioned team, I want my wife to show, Are You Still?
Oh, New York born, New York bred, and wherever I am, I'll be New York dead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just want to know.
It's rough here in Texas. I catch it.
With my brother Doug, you seen him up there. You know, we've been Dallas fans for forever. Me and Doug, and I've been Dallas fan since a long time. Roger Staubach in the game, right? You know.
Oh man.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, we still love New York because you see my Knicks colors. I mean, you know, still love New York. But I've been Dallas fan for forever, man.
We'll talk about that.
He said Fisher, I was still, but you know, and then the other thing is, I think let's show. I think we got Terry's bio so you can see. My wife said I talked about you all the time, you know, during our marriage. I mean, never met her, but we're gonna have to get out to Dallas. You know, I think
you play golf. The new PGA headquarters. It's 5 minutes from my house.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys practice facility is 20 minutes from my house.
Well, Doug, they're planning a trip right now to come to a Dallas game. My brother and them, and there's your bio. You've been in this business for over 25 years. You know what you're talking about, man. And it's been great, man. You know, catching up. But we're gonna have to get out to Dallas and check you out because I ain't been to Dallas since I played there.
Okay. Now, you know, and the Dallas Cowboys practice facility is in Frisco. That's actually where I first moved when I came here.
He said Knicks, Mets, and Giants.
The Mets is doing pretty good this year, though.
Yeah,
right?
Yankees and Mets are doing great.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't really follow the Mets, you know, Mount Vernon, Bronx, you know, that whole thing. But I moved to Frisco, and Frisco, I didn't know the demographics. I really didn't know anything about the area. Frisco, when I first moved here, traffic-wise, it was 20 minutes to Dallas, to the outskirts of Dallas. And but now it's built up out here so much. Like to go to church, where I go to church, Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship. When I first moved out here, it took 35 minutes to go. Now it takes an hour and 15 minutes, and you bet not hit a traffic snag. So it's a challenge. But Frisco, beautiful place. I now live in a little town called Savannah, Texas. Like I said, it was horses and cows when I came out here, and now the horses and cows are gone.
And traffic cars.
Traffic. But the PGA headquarters is 5 minutes from me. But I love it. And you know, to say this, Paul, I don't really fish much. I did take a trip down in Galveston a few years ago, and I shamed my father. I shamed him. Myself and my wife, we got so seasick, I didn't even drop a hook in the water. You know? I was so embarrassed. I was talking to my dad. Dad, I'm sorry. But and I like to go fishing for red snapper. And you can only do that at certain times of the year, and it's in the summer. And this year was just too hot. Yeah.
So Terry, I want to say, you know, thank you. Just hang on for a moment. I'm gonna close out here. Okay. Hang on for a moment, and you know, in the show. And man, this has been great. And for all those who are out there, man, we're talking about gospel. We're talking about faith and the importance of it. You know, it's the business side of what I consider faith, and then it's that faith. You know, so you got to look at it. Sometimes when we look out there, also I have to say, it's the authentic side of being a Christian and having faith and spirituality and so forth and so on. And then it's the political side of it. It's not just the business side of it, but it's the political side of it, of how we use faith. And we have to be careful because to know the difference between being an authentic and in a real relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, and those who are in it for the business and in it for their own culture and their own selfishness. There's a totally big difference. So again, Terry, we thank you for, coming on and sharing. And I want to thank everybody who jumped on and to support tonight, man. I love you guys, man. And I said it earlier, right? If you get up tomorrow, the Lord touches you and you wake up tomorrow, man, enjoy the day. And John Wooden, the coach, said, make every day your masterpiece. I love you guys and look forward to seeing you next week. I got Steve Bender. Steve Bender's there, and he's got a showcase coming up. And I love Steve. He's been doing this work for trying to help young people get into college, especially if you're a student athlete. I mean, he's been doing it 31 years. Man, he's been training people and parents on how to prepare their kids to be student athletes and to understand, like we just finished talking about tonight, it's the ministry, right? It's the ministry and just, going to church and having a good time in the ministry. But then there's the business side. You have to know the game outside the game, right? So if you want to be a student athlete, there's more to it than just playing, right? There's some things you need to know, parents need to know, and kids need to know if you're going to have a successful career in sports. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing Steve next week. Thank you, Terry. Again, man, I love you, brother. And to everyone out there, good night and God bless you.
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Lowe's More, the Blueprint Podcast. Stay connected and follow us at our website, www.lowesmore.com. That's LOWESMOORE.com. You can also join the discussion on Twitter at Lowe's More and on Facebook at Lowe's More Jr. As always, thank you for pushing your mindset towards a better reality. This concludes the most thought-provoking portion of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast to stay fully up to date with everything we're up to. Until next time, be kind to yourself and each other.
What they teaching is a joke. I ain't buying it like I'm broke. Insufficient funds for insignificant.